Today started with blue skies and sunshine. Tonight, we're tracking snow. The sunshine warmed us up into the 20s, back in the 20s today. Our weather impact team has issued a weather alert for the rest of the night and into tomorrow morning.
Take a live peek outside right now, and up in Loveland, yeah, it is snowing. It depends on where you are, but some people are already feeling this storm. Kathy's going to take a look at the timing of the storm coming to your area, coming up in just a few minutes. We begin this hour, though, with the breaking news of the retrial of a former deputy in Cleark Creek County. The jury reaching that verdict today, just in a matter of hours.
Andrew Bune has been found guilty of criminally negligent homicide. 9 News reporter Steve Stager spent the day in Georgetown. And Steve, this is a lesser charge than second-degree murder, which is what he was originally charged with.
Yeah, Kim, the jury actually had 3 separate options. They could go with a second-degree murder conviction, manslaughter, or criminally negligent homicide, which carries a prison sentence of between 1 and 3 years. That's the way that the jury in this case opted to go, reaching the verdict that the previous jury could not in the trial from last spring. In court, Andrew Bune put his head in his hand on the defense table after that verdict was read and kept it there for an awfully long time as the judge handled some of the administrative things that a court does after a verdict is reached. Christian's parents, very stoic in that moment that the verdict was read. There were some tense moments between the Glass family and Andrew Bune's family inside the courtroom shortly after all of this happened. But Andrew Bune was taken into custody here, not eligible for bond as he awaits a sentencing hearing coming up in April. That was the moment that Sally Glass and Simon Glass have waited for in this case. They've wanted to see Andrew Bune face some sort of consequences for what he did to their son that night in June of 2022. Here's what his parents had to say after the verdict.
Do I have sympathy? I think it's hard. It is her son and he's going to jail. But you know, Andrew Bune's alive. He's in rude health. He gets to live on his life. Our son is dead. 6 feet under. We had to fly with our son's ashes in our backpack on a plane to bury him in his home country. That is losing a son. And when I see outpouring of sympathy and love for the man that murdered our son, it made me pretty angry.
That was Sally Glass reacting to the moment in court, that tense moment between the two families. I will say we asked if they were disappointed by the lower of the convictions here, and the Glass family told us that they wanted to see consequences in this case. They're seeing those consequences now. They thank the jury for their service. They thank the district attorney who put on what is a very difficult case to put before a jury. We saw that because it's taken now 2 juries to sort all of this out. But again, the headline here in Georgetown, Andrew Bune, the former Clear Creek deputy who shot and killed Christian Glass, convicted of criminally negligent homicide and could face up to 3 years in prison for that. I'm live in Georgetown right now. Steve Stager, 9 News.
Steve, you have become quite close with this family, having reported on this for so long, and when that body camera video came out, and they have constantly wanted to keep Christian front and center, and they're always wearing the pink, and they're always talking about the young man that he was.
Yeah, there was a whole group of supporters behind the Glass family wearing pink, which was Christian's favorite color. You know, one of the things they talked about today, which is something we touched on in an interview a couple of weeks ago, they won the state's largest police misconduct settlement, and they've actually taken that money and put it into a directed giving account. It's an investment account that will continue to give to charities that help young adults. And the hope is, they mentioned after court today, that fund and that money will last 60 years, which is what they assume Christian would have had left on this earth had he not encountered Andrew Bune on that night in June of 2022.
Well, we know you have much more in the newscast ahead, so we thank you for being there and reporting on this case today. Thanks, Steve.
The Adams County Sheriff's Office says a deputy is now recovering after being shot in the hand today while serving a search warrant.
ACSO says this happened after an hours-long standoff in Brighton. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch joins us from that incident, the place where it happened. You've been there all day, Janelle.
Yeah, we know that there was a shelter-in-place order for homes in this immediate area of 50th Avenue and Bridge Street. There was also a large-scale road closure while Adams County deputies engaged in that SWAT standoff. Now, we're still waiting on confirmation on where that shelter-in-place order stands, but as you can see, the road has reopened, and we do know that a deputy is now recovering from a gunshot wound to the hand. The Adams County Sheriff's Office says deputies came to a home near 50th Avenue and Bridge Street around 8:30 a.m. to serve a search warrant. ACSO says that warrant came from a regional auto theft task force. Deputies say the female suspect was uncooperative and wouldn't come out of the home. The Sheriff's Office says 3 to 4 other people were also inside at the time, but were able to evacuate. Deputies say they tried to speak to the woman again, and that's when shots were fired.
About 11:30, it was decided that we would attempt to make contact with her again. And as our SWAT team was approaching to breach the residence, she opened fire, is what we can determine. So the deputies took fire. One deputy was struck in the hand. At that point, the team members backed off.
Deputies say they did return gunfire after the woman is shot the deputy. The deputies do say that they don't know exactly if any of their shots did hit her, though. When they did back off, they did say that at that point they did hear one single gunshot and later found the suspect dead. The 17th Judicial District Critical Incident Response Team will be taking over the investigation. Live in Brighton, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
Yeah, a few details still to sort out. Thank you, Janelle.
This February Arctic grip on Colorado is not yet over. Tonight, more snow is going to be falling in many areas before we get to a nice weekend warm-up. So let's get over to Kathy and talk about what's happening right now. We are seeing some snow up and down the Front Range.
That's right, mainly along the foothills, Tom, but in Denver still dry as the evening drive gets underway. So far, so good. We do expect conditions to deteriorate as a fast-moving storm rolls in from the north and from the west. Temperatures today close to 30 with lots of sunshine early on. We're now down into the lower 20s. And because of the fact that Arctic air remains in place over extreme eastern Colorado, several of our counties remain under a cold weather advisory for the potential tonight for wind chills to 15 and 20 below. Center of circulation over the I-70 corridor starting to bring snow to the Central Mountains, Front Range foothills. Not much happening in Denver yet, but we are starting to see west of Highlands Ranch and Castle Rock, maybe a few flurries flying near Lakewood. We do expect the heavier snow bands to be to the west and south of downtown. A winter weather advisory begins in less than an hour's time for 3 to 6 inches of snow. Lighter amounts Denver north, heavier amounts Denver south and west. And this system is out of here by tomorrow morning. So we're going to kick off your Friday with snow and get you into sunshine and 40s tomorrow. Again, the heavier accumulation in the foothill areas and those southern suburbs tonight. And that's where we'll see the greatest impact for the drive tonight and, of course, the drive tomorrow morning. The good news is it's not going to be bitter cold like it has been, but the snow and the timing will certainly be impactful for you. We'll have all those details coming up.
Tonight, the Nuggets are back in action after the All-Star break, and they're looking to pick up on that hot streak where they were right when they went into break. The Charlotte Hornets are in town for a 7 o'clock tip-off. A win could make nine in a row. We like that number 9 around here. You can watch the pregame coverage right after next on next with Kyle Clark over on KTVD, and that's at 6:30. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock.
Shedeur Sanders likely is going to be one of the very top picks in this year's NFL draft, but when his name gets called in the first round, it is likely there won't be that semi-standard, semi-awkward photo op with Commissioner Roger Goodell. Shedeur saying yesterday he probably won't be attending the NFL draft this year in Green Bay. Instead, he says the Sanders will have an event either here in Colorado or maybe in Dallas, Texas. Sanders saying he wanted to focus on being around his family when his name is called. The draft itself is not until April, but the NFL Combine starts next week. Sanders will be there, as well as his teammate, the Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. And now Hunter is being listed in both the wide receiver and defensive back groups. The two-way sensation had previously just been listed by the NFL at DB, while teams in the pros try to figure out how and where to use Hunter on the football field when he does go to the NFL. He won't be the only Colorado-based wideout in Indy. His teammates Jimmy Horn Jr. and LeJonte Wester also invited to the Combine, as well as CSU star wide receiver Torrey Horton. His past season was cut short due to a knee injury. All four of them and Shedeur are going to work out on Saturday, March 1st. Hunter will also be working out with the defensive backs, though, on the day before.
That's good. I mean, it's hard to say what position he would play in the NFL.
Well, it depends on which team takes him.
Right.
You know, how creative a team wants to be with him. And for him, it also has to be determined by money.
Yeah.
You make a lot more money as a wide receiver than you do as a defensive back. The ceiling is much higher. However, you know, he is a unicorn.
So he could go to somebody that needs a wide receiver, but also could use him.
My guess, most people are guessing he's going to be a defensive back 100% of the time, and an offensive player maybe a third of the time. Special packages, you know, playing in certain
But he's still going to go near the top, don't you think?
He will be one of the very first players taken.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, which number.
Yeah, well,
Which number?
It's going to be a little number.